Hey, Geekscape. We are doing another news video because we just watched the first ever Monday Night Raw live on Netflix. I'm so
What?
glad
It
I
was
was
on
able.
Netflix?
Yeah, I'm so
It
glad I
was
was
live
able to
on
remember that.
Netflix.
They didn't bring it up once on the show.
It was Raw on Netflix. This is the Netflix era of what I'm hearing. So we're no longer in the Triple H era, shortest era in WWE history. We are now in the Netflix era. And all
so
right.
so here's the thing. You and I were texting each other throughout this entire event.
Yes.
And I think the overall vibe was this was not great. Um I think we
Yeah.
mostly landed on a couple issues. Uh
I also want to bring up the fact that Matt, you and I are in the minority.
oh, people were loving
Oh,
this?
people loved it.
Okay.
People are
So
eating this up.
and I don't, and here's my thing, and I was telling you this. I think both of us have not watched wrestling consistently in a while.
Yes, I would agree.
But I'm going to watch next Monday. I was I was enticed by what matches they were setting up. And I really feel like you called it perfectly. This had a lot of like Raw anniversary vibe in a lot
Yeah.
of the worst ways, where
Yeah.
it was like, I mean, this was a 3-hour show with four matches,
Yeah, and
and
let's I know we'll be skipping around here, but the Undertaker coming out and crowning the new American badass Rhea
yeah,
Ripley really made a lot of sense. I guess they both wear black.
yeah, it was a lot of that. But like, let's just kind of walk through it real quick.
Yeah.
The first like 20-25 minutes of this had a real like this could have just been an email energy.
Oh
It's
my
just like
god.
it was just like this giant corporate recap of like we're on Netflix now. WWE like dominated television,
Yeah.
the wrestling
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like it was a lot of like patting yourself on the back, and like for sure I just don't understand why this wasn't like an event that you did at 7:30 before the actual show. Like it
Yeah,
felt.
like that felt like it should have been it should have been. I don't know. It was a lot. It was
It was a
very
lot.
it was wild because we got the then, now, and forever, and then it felt like we got another
Then,
then,
now, and
now, and
forever.
forever.
Well, and like I guess the biggest thing is that we get this opening match almost 30 minutes
Let's
into the
not. I don't
show.
want to. I.
Well,
Do
no. I'm
you?
going to bounce back to it in a second,
Well,
but we
hold on.
get
Do you
this.
remember how WrestleMania 40 went off the air? Do you remember how WrestleMania 40 went off the air with Cody
I
Rhodes?
I don't.
So WrestleMania 40 goes off the air with Cody Rhodes bringing out a bunch of people.
Oh
And he
yeah.
brings out Bruce Pritchard. And then he brings out Triple H. Now, before he brings out Triple H, he sincerely, this does not sound like a bit. He's like, he's not going to want me to do this. He doesn't like to take a lot of credit for stuff. But I just want to bring out Paul, Hunter, Triple H, come on out. And that always gets a chuckle out of me, especially for moments like this, where like we get that big opening and then the sheet comes down, and in the middle of the ring, on top of all of the corporation sponsors on the mat, is just Paul Levesque.
But like, you know what? I have like mixed feelings on that because
Yeah.
I kind of think that both things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that Paul Levesque could be a guy who doesn't like to get all of the attention on stuff while simultaneously probably being the most coherent speaker in the company to talk about this stuff, because like when you bring out the Rock to talk about stuff, no one's going to pay attention to what the Rock's saying until he pops a catchphrase. You know what I mean? But like I feel like Triple H, more than most of the people in the WWE like hierarchy of people, is able to just like passionately talk about a thing in a very like concise, get you excited for the product kind of way that is better than when they have a lot of other people try to do it. So I feel like it could be the same way that I say that I'm like an introvert and an extrovert, because like I can go out on, I can be on YouTube and I can like go on stage and I can do my thing. but then like the second I'm done, I want no one to talk to me or be around me for a little
Yeah,
bit.
but
Like
Matt, like you also don't have a history of also
that's
throwing yourself around,
I
your
know,
power around,
true.
so to
But
speak.
but the thing that I want to talk about is like they did something that I think they did correct, which is that this first match we get is this tribal chief match, right?
Yeah,
And I was texting you about it where it's like, this is, on one hand, it is like a paint by numbers, super predictable wrestling match, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like it had all the cliches, it had everything that you expect to see in a WWE wrestling match. But assuming that all of the expectations are correct and
yeah,
that as that there's going to be a bunch of people tuning in like us who haven't watched in a couple years, there's going to be people who haven't watched in decades. There might be people who've never watched. Like
yeah,
this is such a perfect here's what WWE wrestling looks like match to
yeah.
like hand to people that they can explain. The problem is I don't know if I was tuning in for the first time if I would have made it through the 25 minutes beforehand to get to that match.
Yeah, man, I felt like the beginning of this was very much a bitter pill to swallow
Yeah.
because the rumors were out that The Rock was not doing a match at Mania 41, which is
Yeah.
fine. I was unsure with what we were what was going on tonight, because if that's the case, we can throw out what happened at Bad Blood. He comes out at the end, obviously looking mad at Roman.
Yeah.
Um, his whole shtick last year was him being this final boss character, and he has not been the final boss of anything. If
No.
anything, he was the opening fight. Remember from last Mania, he's the opposite of a final boss. And I just thought The Rock was the coolest he had been in years
Yeah.
last year at last Mania. And
Well, and
just,
now they're like just kind of shifting him into like behind the scenes corporate guy. Like, what
yeah,
did
like
The Rock do
he's back
today?
to being what he was before. Like he's
Yeah,
just,
like what did he do today except for come out, curse to show that you can curse on Raw now and not get beeped.
yeah.
Drop a
I
couple
think
catchphrases.
they bleeped out him saying the F word. That was the only word they bleeped
Yeah.
out him saying.
But then like then we got this weird like later on like this cell phone footage of just like him shaking everybody's hand and being backstage and
Yeah.
promoting watching NXT tomorrow. Like
Someone posted WWE literally broadcasted The Rock doing a DUI on
yeah.
on Netflix because he's like drinking and then he's like, later, brothers. Like, see you on NXT tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, it was something.
it was a really weird bit.
We
But the
got
first match, totally cool. It was basically, it was almost like shot for shot, just a repeat of the Roman Cody Mania match.
which
Just
again is
again,
fine if you're
fine.
expecting that most people have not tuned in
Yeah, it
forever.
was
This
basically WWE saying, "Hey, here's our main event scene from the past 3 years. Like,
and
this is what's happening."
I think they did a good job with like look, there's a lot of things that we can complain about as far as flow, the choices of cameos, like that stuff. Yeah, issue. If I'm
Yeah,
looking at it strictly by what the four matches were and what the backstage promos were, I actually think it was a very effective. Hey, if this is your first show, like you said, here's who your main eventers are. Here's who the people are that you have to care about. You have to care about Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. You have to care about Cody Rhodes. You have to care about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Chad Gable. We're going to be doing some stuff with. Here's Drew McIntyre. Here's Kofi Kingston, and then here's Seth Rollins and CM Punk. These are the
yeah,
most important characters. There's going to be other people, but like these are the ones whose stories you need to follow from now until WrestleMania. Like
yeah,
perfectly fine. Like it's like that is actually, kudos. Like if this was episode 1 of a new season of wrestling or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
great job of doing that
This
like
would have
Game
been
of
the
Thrones
only
thing where
time
you're
they
in,
could. actually use that bit and it makes sense. You know how they
Yeah.
always do this is the season premiere of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. No,
Like
this
this would
truly
have been the
was.
only time that they could have used that and it makes sense.
No, I've honestly always believed that they should be calling the season premiere of Monday Night Raw or
The
whatever the Raw
episode
is
after
after
Mania.
WrestleMania. Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
agree.
like they would always just pick some random day in like July and be like season
Yeah.
premiere of Monday
Caesar
Night Raw
and I
tonight.
was like, I was just watching this last week. What are you talking about? It
Um
was brand new.
is there anything else that we feel like we need to address though that happens? Like
So just like the rundown, I'm really I texted you at one point and said this isn't for me.
yeah,
And I still genuinely believe that. There are things that I liked. I thought all 4 matches were good. Well, they were fun to watch.
yeah.
Not a bad match on the card. I feel like the worst match on the card was Drew McIntyre and Jay
Yeah.
Uso.
Well, because it was already overshadowed by Travis Scott just lighting
Yeah,
a giant blunt and looking confused.
yeah, that
Like-
was the coolest thing that I saw. Actually, that was the second coolest thing that I saw. The first coolest thing was Hulk Hogan getting booed out of the building.
yeah, the crowd
Like
was
that
not
was
into
awesome.
Hogan tonight at all.
And I hope that if we have to watch him continuously be paraded in front of us, I hope this happens each time.
Well, I got a question for you though. Do you
Yeah.
think that Real American Beer will last longer than Pastamania did in the 90s? Like, do you think it has the staying power of Pastamania or
Yes, because of the backing power of the Disney of professional wrestling that is WWE right
Okay.
now.
We'll see.
So I want to say no, but seeing what I'm seeing, then that was kind of going back to what I just said. Like the overall product isn't for me. It's just there's it's so glossy. It's
Yeah.
so Disneyfied. There's cool things about it. Like I love the shot you were talking about it earlier, the shots of wrestlers coming into the building that we've kind of done since
Yeah.
Triple H has taken over. Those
We
little
talked
moments
about
are
the little keeping a tally of what matches had happened already in the night at the bottom of the screen. Like
yeah,
there
that's
there
all
were
really cool. But
yeah.
I feel like it's overshadowed by the we're on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix is here. Netflix is happening, bro. Netflix is here. Oh, look,
But,
Logan Paul's over here. Look, here's some Prime Energy. Speed's here. Have you played Fortnite? Fortnite's on its way. Look at like, dude, I can't do it because like I've removed myself from certain social medias because of things like that.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore. It's
what
so
I'm
much.
what I'm definitely gonna do,
Yeah.
I think where I landed on for me anyway,
Yeah.
is I'll probably tune in a little bit next week because
Mhm.
I wanna see what it's like when it's not like hey, it's the first episode on Netflix is so much more important than it's the second episode on Netflix. Like, I'm hoping that next week it is a slightly more normal episode. Now,
I'm
WWE, I have
interested.
come to terms with the fact that there's constantly going to be tie-ins and promotions and all
Yeah.
types of other stuff. That I'm fine with. It was that like out of 3 hours, 90 minutes was talking about Netflix.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
like where the problem was.
And the
But
thing is I feel
assuming
like that has increased tenfold, but I feel like that's increased everywhere. It's like
everywhere.
if you jump on Facebook right now, I somebody told me was like you can fix your feed this way. I don't know how that's a real boomer statement from my end there. I guess I don't know how to fix this feed. I'll figure it out. But it's literally just ad after ad after ad. Here's a post, ad after ad after ad. And I'm like, it's so hard.
But things were like never more clear to me than, they're interviewing Gabrielle Iglesias, trying to promote his stand-up special, which had already been advertised like 3 different times on commercial breaks. And then in comes the New Day to like kind of rightfully call out like, hey, why is no one asking us about backstabbing Big E? Like, we're wasting time with this stuff that has nothing to do with wrestling. And we're supposed to not like the New Day, but they're like kind of saying what we're all thinking, which is kind of how the New Day was able to turn babyface when they were heels the last time.
The last thing I want to talk about that I want to make sure we talk about is the main event, which was
Well,
Seth
we'll get
Rollins
there.
versus CM Punk.
We'll
Okay,
get there.
because
But
you
to
said
the-
was there anything else I wanted to
Yeah.
mention? I wasn't sure if you were trying to close out. So.
No, but to the advertising side of things, like we have that
okay.
where they're promoting that, and then like this is just Netflix as a whole. This really has nothing to do with the WWE, but we keep getting these commercials that are literally Squid Game pizza commercials,
Yes.
and it kind of like I
Is
don't want
there
to.
no like demonstration of not comprehending what a show is about than like
Well,
Squid Game Dominoes? Like I
yeah,
just don't get it.
but I think that that's like Netflix did not know how the ride to the success of this random foreign show that they probably bought for like a cheap amount of money and it exploded because
Yeah.
they already, I mean, the pizza commercials aren't even the first blasphemous thing that they did. Like the fact that
yeah.
they turned it into an actual game show that
Yeah.
like social media influencers could play was already like, did you learn nothing?
Oh,
From
I
what
get
this
hit
is
with a
about.
Squid Game 2 event every time I log on to the new Call of Duty. Like I pop on, we're in the middle of a Squid Game event currently.
Yeah,
It's
it's
everywhere.
it's everywhere, and like I said, from how massive that first season was, like it has been crickets about season 2 of Squid
Yeah.
Game. I've heard
I just see
not a
ads. I don't
word.
hear anyone talking about it.
Yeah,
I just see ads
and that's
for it.
how they've kind of ruined it. I want to read a quote from Triple H, and then we'll talk about the main event.
Yeah.
There was a quote that I found where they were asking about the runtime now that it's on Netflix.
Mhm.
And he makes this analogy and he says, I think things will be flexible. It'll be flexible, and I don't necessarily know the time constraints for a network television or a cable that would apply to network or cable television. It's slightly a different platform. Like so many episodic shows, they have the ability to do whatever the show needs to have done. If this episode needs to be an hour, great, then it's an hour. If the next episode needs to be 42 minutes, then it's 42 minutes. They do whatever it takes to make the best product. I'm hoping, I don't see a world where this is the case,
I don't
but I'm
believe him.
hoping no. I'm like, then make the best product. Make
Yeah.
a 2-hour episode of Raw when it feels necessary.
This could have been the best episode. There is a phenomenal 2-hour episode of Raw in what we watched tonight.
100%. And that's why I'm not here like it was all bad, it was all terrible.
No, it wasn't bad.
But it was surrounded
3 hours
by
is so long.
it's really long, and it's surrounded by a lot of muck. But we do get this main event, and like not for nothing. Again, if this was your first ever time watching wrestling, like this Seth Rollins CM Punk match is an exciting match. You can tell that the crowd is on fire for it, and like that would make anybody go, okay, I'll check this out again. You know what I mean? Like I think that the problem is that you and I are watching it as people who've watched wrestling for a couple years, for you decades.
Yeah.
And I think that this episode specifically was very much designed to like bring in a whole new audience that hasn't been watching. And that's why, again, I'm really interested to see what next week is like, because I think next week will be a blend of like still trying to like hold the hand of new viewers and walk them through, but giving them more of what Raw should be, which is like way more matches, way more backstage promos, way less just a person standing in the ring. So let's talk about this main event, and then we'll wrap this up.
But just playing off of that point, I'm excited for Raw in like May.
Yeah.
Like when we're not, because even like right now, even going Netflix forward
we're
like
in
the thick of
Rumble,
Mania season. We're like about to hit Mania season. I'm excited to see like what are we seeing on Raw Netflix in May? Like how are we doing that? How are we sustaining this? I don't know how you do the different times, especially running a live show, because I would feel really gypped if like all of these other arenas were getting 3-hour shows and my show was the 2-hour one or whatever. So that's why I say I don't really believe him when he says that. I feel like we're going to be sticking to this 3-hour mark.
unless there's a consistency of, hey, they're all 2-hour shows, but every once in a while one might run 2.5 or one
Yeah. Yeah.
like I don't think that there will be less than whatever the established amount of time
Oh,
is,
I know.
but except for I mean, this one was right. The rumors were this thing was going till 11:30, but this thing ended
Yeah.
on the dot at
And I'm
11
gonna be
o'clock.
honest, man. When we hit that 90-minute mark and we had seen a match, I was worried. I was like, we're going till midnight, dude. Like this is gonna be great.
No, they really did kind of pick up the pace
Towards
after
that
that
back
first
half
90
for
minutes.
sure. Good main event, solid back and forth. I feel like they really just let Seth and Punk kind of get their frustrations out on one another.
Yeah.
It didn't look too choreographed. My only I hate when a match is booked, and WWE does this all the time, when one person is getting annihilated, like
Yeah.
5 finishers in a row, and they keep kicking out, and then they beat the other guy with one finisher.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that. Like,
Yeah.
it takes me back to like the reign of Lesnar, Samoa Joe, the Samoa Joe match. Like, Samoa Joe was beating the hell out of Lesnar, and then like one F5 and the match was over. I just can't stand that, especially because if you think about it, like Seth Rollins is kind of the baby face in this program, especially when it comes to WWE standards.
Yeah.
Um, like still feel like he's not wrong in any of the things that he's been saying, the promos he's been cutting. Like CM Punk did leave. He didn't make it elsewhere. He ended up coming back. Like he's not wrong. I really hope this isn't the last time that we see this match. I know that apparently the plans for Punk is to go after Gunther's title, and I think that'll be a good
I mean, those
watch.
would be good matches. Those will
Those will
definitely
be
be good matches.
those will be really good matches. But I'm hoping I feel like Seth Rollins keeps is like it's the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
Like he's all and he's so good.
He's
He's
good.
always been so good ever since like especially when like the Shield turned on him and he went away from injury and he could have came back as the biggest baby face in the world and they booked him to be a heel. I know I'm going back in time, but gosh, that still bothers me.
It's a really, but I think that he made that work anyway as a heel.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah.
impressive.
He's so good, and I just wish that we could see him as that top guy, and I feel like he's never been the guy. He's always been right under the guy. And to be honest, that's kind of the competition here between CM Punk and Seth Rollins is the fight for who is the just barely below the guy. As that's always kind of been the case, and it still is. Like Punk was able to be the man in AEW because like he was the biggest star, and now I feel like again he is overshadowed, but for good reason. I don't need CM Punk being the biggest star in WWE.
No,
I'm
that's
a little
totally fair.
past my Punk fandom, as most people know.
Well, Dylan, thank you so much for jumping in on here. Obviously,
Yeah, of
people
course.
enjoy listening to the two of us talk. You're rocking the t-shirt. Christmas 365 is the podcast we both do together.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll be seeing you on we're going to be doing a Royal Rumble predictions at the end of the month. We're
Yeah.
going to be doing a Mania predictions later on. I'm sure your
I
face will show up for many of those
and I
things.
like stuff like this because it forces me to kind
Pay
of stay
attention
up
a
to
little bit
date with
more.
wrestling. Yeah, and pay attention a little bit more versus just checking in on the podcast. Because I do still enjoy wrestling. It's just again, just there's so much of it.
There's too much of
There's
it. But
too much to keep up with everything.
well, we'll be back for more of these, I'm sure, in the future. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please go like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment, all of that good jazz. And we'll be back
Do
with
it
more
all.
news videos as news comes.
See ya.